let's talk now about Spider-Man: Far From Home. That was a trailer that we got today. This I thought was a pretty big trailer. At least how I read it. Obviously, it's a trailer where they have to, give the spoiler warning. It was for good reason because it pretty much definitely is coming out of Endgame and Peter still being, saddened by what happened with Tony Stark. He says he sees his face everywhere. He's looking at a mural somewhere in the city that shows Tony, and it made sense why obviously they had the spoiler warning, but also made sense why in the other stuff we saw, it kind of was very vague about what was going on. Now it makes a lot more sense why we saw Happy, why we saw everything, the way it went down in the first teaser that we got. That was the big deal, obviously, that this is coming out of Endgame, and Tony Stark's legacy kind of is in the shadow of this movie, which makes great sense for it being a direct sequel to Homecoming. But the other big thing was the Mysterio reveal, where I love how the scene with Happy and Peter like he doesn't want to pick up the phone call from Nick Fury, and he's like, "You just sent Nick Fury to voicemail." Yeah. He's like, "I'm going on vacation. I'm not answering." Like, that's such a high school kid thing to do. Like, you get a serious phone call, and you're just like, "I'm not picking it up because I want to do something fun." So that was funny. But when he finally ends up being taken by Fury, and Fury explains to him the situation, Fury says that there's a multiverse, which is not something that's ever been involved or talked about when it comes to the Marvel Universe. He says that due to the effects of Thanos and his snap and Endgame and all this stuff, there's now been created a multiverse, and these creatures that are appearing are coming from that multiverse, and Mysterio is a human from that multiverse. That is potentially massive. I say potentially because Mysterio is a known liar who's used this kind of lie before to explain his actions. So I don't want to just jump out the window completely. But if that's the case, I mean, that absolutely really opens up the can of worms in terms of how they could move forward with not just the Spider-Man universe, but just everything. We talked about how do you include the X-Men? How do you include the Fantastic Four? How do you include any other characters you may want to insert that may not make sense right now? That's your end-all, be-all. And it's strange to me that they would give something like that, of that magnitude, to Sony, even though they're making the movie. That makes me pause. I'm like, that surprises me that they would allow for a Sony movie to have something of that magnitude be so present in the universe. But that's huge if that's the case. So those are the two biggest takeaways I had from this. What do you guys think of this trailer, and what do you guys think of that? I go to you first, Sham.
So with regards to that, well, first of all, I thought it was a decent trailer. I like this trailer more than I like the last trailer.
I did too.
But I thought this was a decent trailer. It's interesting about the whole multiverse thing because it's always hard trying to figure out the timeline of when exactly they got the Fox properties or when they had known they were going to get the Fox properties, because it's like, did they know that they were going to get the Fox properties when they were writing?
Yeah, because this looks like a setup for the Fox thing.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like basically a setup for this whole situation. Which it makes me wonder, like, okay, if they hadn't gotten it, what would they have done with this? Nothing? I mean, maybe that was their plan. Maybe they're like, okay, well, we'll throw this in here anyway. But if we don't get it, it'll just be like, oh, okay, this is a thing that happened, and then we're not going to do anything with it. So, I mean, it's possible that that's the case as well. But I thought this trailer was very plot-heavy. It gave away a lot of plot points, which I think is good. I was wondering what was going on with these elementals. So I'm glad we got more information on that.
And this was a plot that needed explanation.
Yeah, it needed explanation. So I was very satisfied with what was explained to us in the trailer, and I'm glad we got more information on how this connects to Endgame, and now I'm just looking forward to the movie at this point. Looking forward to seeing Peter interact with Happy and Nick Fury. That should be really cool. That should be really funny to see.
What about you, Kendall?
Yeah, obviously, like everybody, when I first saw the trailer, the Mysterio thing, obviously raised some eyebrows. Got me hyped for it. At least, like I said, at least it was an eyebrow raiser. Um, I think the more I sat back and thought about it, I wouldn't say I think it's likely, but I think that there is a good chance that that is some sort of misdirect.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's 60% legit, and like 40% like it's gonna come about like a what's the guy's name, Mandarin from from Iron Man 3, where I think they want to generate. It's a good way because think about it. We've talked about the whole Mysterio thing even from the first trailer, like them trying to set up Mysterio as like this like good guy essentially, to then pull it under the rug eventually. You would think, considering he was cast as a villain and he's Mysterio obviously, to eventually pull it under the rug that Mysterio's the bad guy actually, and that's not going to surprise 75% of the people, maybe 80%, 90% of people going there to see the movie that Mysterio's the villain. So is that reveal going to do anything? Now you throw this in here, and now you got people talking about a multiverse. Mysterio's the catalyst to bring in the X-Men, and maybe Miles Morales. And
talk about a twist that nobody expected.
Yeah, like now, like let's say we go into the movie and they say that, oh yeah, he was lying about that, or that's not even a thing, or it is a thing, but it has nothing to do with Mysterio. Like that would be a surprise to people. It wouldn't be a shock because, like you said, Mysterio is built on that
misdirect
kind of deception.
Yeah,
but like in terms of what we thought about the movie going in, it would change things, and it would change a lot of the conversations that we've had or that we're going to have leading into the movie. Also, I think the most likely scenario is that Mysterio is that there is a multiverse, but on his world, like he's probably actually a villain. But he's gonna come. He probably ends up on this world somehow, and So
you're buying that he is from another Earth, and that that multiverse thing. You think it's most likely?
Yeah, I think there's a good chance that he's not from another Earth.
Right. Yeah.
That it's all BS. But I would say most likely that he is from another Earth.
But that he was a villain.
One of those things. He's a mustache twirling villain that is trying to take advantage of the situation that he's in. But like you said, that's what makes this weird is the whole Fox deal. That's why I think that this could be just a misdirect. If it's not a misdirect, then do you wonder if they call an audible? Do they rewrite something to change people's origins?
We didn't hear anything with this movie with rewrites or reshoots, right?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily a reshoot, but this has been the Fox deal has been in the works for a while now.
True.
Could they have changed the script somehow? Late in or during production, or it just feels like going into everything we've heard about the movie has been true. Well, not everything, but a lot of the things we heard about the movie, before we even heard about Gyllenhaal getting casted, a lot of it's come to be true about Spider-Man's gonna go off to Europe, and that stuff we've heard for a while. There was no talk about Mysterio. When we heard that Mysterio was gonna be the villain, or we heard about the villain, there was nothing about some guy from another universe we're gonna come.
That's true.
So that makes me wonder if maybe they changed some things, knowing that this is how they want to do the Fox deal. And then it would also maybe add clarity to what Kevin Feige was talking about with this being kind of the end of Phase 3, beginning of Phase 4. So, a lot of things to take from that in particular. But again, this all could be for nothing. This conversation, if it's a Mandarin situation where it's all just trailer fluff.
Why do you guys think Nick Fury believes Mysterio?
It's another good question. Which you would think maybe gives him more credibility because Nick Fury is someone who is
He's not trusting.
no, no, he's not trusting at all. He's always skeptical, on the brink of cynicism. So yeah, how would someone like Mysterio fool Nick Fury and Maria Hill? That leads credits to maybe that part of his story is not true. I totally think that some part of this is not true. There's no
Absolutely.
way that
There's 0%
there's 0% chance. We all agree that Mysterio is a villain in this movie.
He's
right?
a villain. Mysterio is a villain in the movie.
So there's
More
0%.
surprising if he's not a villain.
Yes,
Yeah,
that would
that
be
would be
shocking.
Yeah, that would be beyond Mandarin.
Yeah.
Levels of shocking.
It was ironic because the Mandarin situation, it was the fact that there was a switch that was shocking. This would be if there isn't some kind of switch.
Exactly.
That would be shocking. So Mysterio is going to be the villain of this movie. The question becomes how much of his story is true, and Fury believing all of it leaves credence to the fact that maybe a lot of it is true. But that is interesting to me that Fury would believe something like that, especially given he's not working for Shield, he's not working for some organization right now. It seems like he's kind of going solo with him and Maria Hill, maybe a couple of scragglers that he picked up along the way, some old Shield buddies, and they're kind of just working off the books to try to thwart threats. It doesn't seem like he would also have the means to know if Mysterio was lying about that. To me, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not giving him enough credit, or maybe I feel like if that was the case, I think that in the writing standpoint, I would have a lot of questions about how he would know about that, especially given that we know that he has that he can contact Captain Marvel. We know that he can contact Thor because they both say that those two are unavailable for specific reasons. So how he would have the means to also be like, well, I found out that there was a multiverse. I would like to know. It would surprise me if he didn't have another source for that, because it doesn't seem like the people he has with him have the ability to do that. It's not like Captain Marvel can tell him that. It's not like Thor can tell him that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just it is bizarre, and that's why I mentioned the whole this being a Sony movie thing is so interesting to me, because it's truly shocking that they would put so much on the line in terms of Stark's death, a potential multiverse, in the hands of a Sony property.
Well, you know what I'll say about that?
That is really bizarre to me, and it makes me wonder that we're worried about X-Men and Fantastic Four and Deadpool. Are they setting up the Spideyverse? Is this kind of did they do this, and is this just now a good coincidence for them to maybe expand on that? But if they wanted to do a Spider-Gwen, you could do that now. You don't really need to do a Miles Morales because we've had a 5-year jump, so there's no need necessarily to have to go to another universe to get Spider-Man, because the kid that
He's in the universe.
The kid that Donald Glover talked about in Far From Home should be old enough around the age to maybe be Spider-Man at this point. So
Yeah.
Is this the creation of the Spider-Verse, and will this somehow maybe even coincide with what we're seeing in these animated films?
Well, it's interesting you say that, EJ, because I wonder if this trailer kind of pours water on the idea that Sony or Marvel and Sony have any tension, or that because there has been this notion that we should be worried about the future of Spider-Man and what Sony will do after his Tom Holland's movie contract is up and things of that nature. But I mean, the way they positioned Peter Parker and Spider-Man in this trailer, you're the successor to Iron Man, at this point.
Yeah.
And we had the thing with the multiverse, and they're not shying away from, they're not doing anything to really distance themselves from, Spider-Man, or kind of isolate Spider-Man in his own lane. So that makes me wonder that maybe Marvel's confident, Disney's confident, Sony's confident that their relationship is going to continue for a long time, and that you know, could we see a situation where Peter Parker is uh, one of, if not the leader of the Avengers, or a real leader of the Avengers?
But for me, I think you can go both ways. Because I think that this is also an out for if there was, for whatever reason, they wanted to put Holland in a movie with Tom Hardy. To me, this absolutely creates exactly what could have happened to make that happen. Is to somehow get Spidey sucked out of the MCU and into the Sonyverse. And maybe then allow Marvel to use Miles. Like, there's a lot of different things they can do. But it to me, I read it both ways. I read it as, yes, it could be, the way they kind of hyped up Peter as the successor to Tony, that they really do view him as the future of the MCU, not Sonyverse, but the MCU. But on the other hand, it gives them a lot of options by creating a multiverse if they do that, because it just doesn't make sense to think that they're going to just continue doing Venom and not want to put him across Tom Hardy. You would think that they're going to, put Tom Holland against in front of Tom Hardy. Like, you would think that meeting has got to be inevitable, and it's not going to happen in the MCU. So how could it happen? This creates that avenue. It's all really fascinating. I don't know, Sham. Like, I don't know where you stand on it, but to me, I think this creates a lot of opportunities to do a lot of things, and it's exciting, but it's also weird and scary, because I feel like, we've seen, DC has been the company that, Marvel has dealt with multiverses too, but I think DC has kind of really made the multiverse like its baby, and it comes with a lot of good and a lot of bad. You could do a lot of amazing, awesome stuff like Crisis on Infinite Earths and Flashpoint and things like that, or you could end up doing complete foolishness, which we've seen DC do. I'm talking about comic books. I'm not even talking about movies right now. Like, it comes with a double-edged sword, and I don't know if I want to. I don't want this to become an avenue to take Tom Holland out of the MCU and make it seamless for Sony to move movies without Marvel. But I think that this also creates an avenue for them to do that if they so choose.
I don't think that that's going to happen, but I do see where you're coming from. I agree with Kendall in that it seems like they're setting up Peter Parker as the next, next potential face. It seems like they're not really sure what they want to do yet. It seems like there's a new big three in Captain Marvel, Black Panther, and Peter Parker, in terms of who they want to lead, quote unquote, the new Avengers. And I feel like they don't really know who they want to pick yet. They're still trying to figure that out. But it seems like they're branding Peter Parker as like the new, like, Iron Man. And I feel like with Peter Parker being so close to Tony, and then being so close to him in the moment that he died, even, I feel like he is, I feel like he's gonna become a new fan favorite. Honestly, everyone loves this new Spider-Man, and I feel like I think that this could set up something with regards to bringing in the X-Men, bringing in the Fantastic Four. I do think they could do something with the Spider-Verse, but I hope they don't. Just because we're already getting a Spider-Verse, an animated Spider-Verse, and I don't really want a live-action Spider-Verse to go on at the same time.
What I'm saying is, how about the animation crosses over with the live action? So, like, do you have a scenario where that Miles that we got introduced to in Spider-Verse somehow gets sucked into the MCU for some reason, or if Tom Holland somehow gets sucked into the animated universe and we see him somewhere doing voice acting for a movie. Like, that's where I think this gets interesting, especially, Kendall, when I think about, we all talked about how weird, like, the Homecoming universe was, in that, okay, there's no Mary Jane Watson, there's this MJ. We haven't been introduced to Gwen Stacy. We surmise we've seen some little blonde girl that may be her, but we don't know for sure. That seems to be out of the window. That could be out of the window if she's now 5 years older after this snap situation. Mm-hmm. So,
interesting.
Some of the people that Ned Leeds is his best friend. Who the hell is Ned Leeds? Where's Harry Osborn? Where's any Osborn? Like, there's a lot of weird. The way they created this universe was weird, and
Yeah. Well,
and
our
so when you talk about creating a multiverse, maybe there is another universe where Mary Jane Watson exists as Mary Jane Watson. Maybe there is a Harry Osborn that's his best friend, not Ned Leeds. Maybe there's a Gwen Stacy around. Like we all kind of just like we all just kind of like you didn't care anymore like about the fact that it was very weird like the characters they were putting around him, and we just moved on because we were just happy that Spider-Man in the MCU. But maybe there was a grander reason than we even thought. You know?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the MCU is a little messy right now with, the 5-year snap or the 5-year jump and the snap, and now we're talking about Thanos is he released cosmic particles, no Infinity Stones and stuff, and so there's a lot of layers they can throw in, and now we're talking about a multiverse out of nowhere because of the snap. So like all these characters could be coming from all different areas. Like Mysterio and the X-Men could be coming from a different multiverse, but then the snap could have, or the Infinity Gems being broken up maybe caused the Fantastic Four, and maybe Miles Morales grows up in the 5-year time jump. Like it's confusing as to how any of this stuff is going to happen. What I will say is, the thing about the Spider-Verse that we assumed in Homecoming was that they just wanted to differentiate themselves from the others. So like, we're not going to use your stereotypical Mary Jane. We're not going to use Harry Osborn. We're not going to use J. Jonah Jameson because or Norman Osborn, because a lot of those things were used in the first 2 iterations. So I don't know if that's changed. I feel like that logic still would maintain itself. What I will say is that in terms of the X-Men, I still don't know how I feel about a multiverse. I still would love for these characters to just be in the MCU somehow. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's possible, but I'm still not completely sure that this is how it happened. I just feel like it's too weird to reveal that in a trailer. It kind of feels unnecessary. I don't know.
The one thing we can all agree is that this trailer grabbed everyone's attention. If there was I thought, because to me with this trailer and this movie, I'll be honest, I was like whatever, and it wasn't really anything to do necessarily with this movie in particular, but it was more just about Endgame was such a massive thing that was anything that comes out of it, it's all right, whatever, I'll see when I see it. But when you start bringing out multiverse, people come from different universes, you're like, whoa, time out. This is very important for how they could potentially be setting up the next phase. And if that's not the case, Marvel and Sony, and to give them credit, are smart, because they know that us who do this, other people who do what we do, we're gonna break down what they said and what they created, and talk about what that means for the future. And even if it ends up all being a complete misdirect, and maybe there isn't a multiverse at all, or maybe there's a multiverse, but it really has nothing to do with the X-Men, they knew that it was gonna spark this conversation. So that's just great marketing on their standpoint to put that forefront in this trailer, because that's not something they had to reveal in this trailer at all. They didn't have to. I thought they should have, but doing that, now the conversation does get shifted to this movie. Now this movie becomes very important. I think for some people, the movie was an afterthought. For the hardcore fans, this movie is no longer an afterthought after this trailer, and that's why, to me, there's no question. You have to look at this and say this was successful, regardless of what you thought about how the rest of it looked. I thought it looked good, but even if you're like, all right, whatever, the villain, we don't know what's going on. What are these elementals? Forget all that. You enter into multiverse, I need to know what's going on, and everyone's attention has to be on it at that point. So they deserve a lot of credit. To me, this trailer gets an A for that, because the goal is to sell a movie. I don't think they could have sold the movie better than bringing to light a different continuity than what we know from the MCU. And again, it's shocking to me that they would do that in a Sony movie, which is why I have my antennas raised for some massive misdirect where maybe this is not all going to happen. But the possibilities that it's introduced are endless. And we've broken down not even all of them, probably, not even half of them. But it's going to be a fascinating movie to follow, and I tell you guys, I can't wait to see what ends up happening with that movie. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this podcast segment, be sure to check out all of our shows on the New Generation Podcast Network on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Stitcher.